Exploring the numerology of 10 in the Bible. Numbers hold special significance in the Bible, often carrying meanings far beyond their literal count. Among them, the number 10 stands out as a symbol of completeness, order, and divine authority. It appears repeatedly in Scripture, tied to events and principles that shape the biblical narrative. From the 10 Commandments to the 10 Plagues of Egypt, the number 10 reflects God's sovereignty and moral framework. Let's explore the profound numerology of 10 and its timeless message. The meaning of 10, a symbol of order and completion. In biblical numerology, the number 10 often represents human responsibility under God's law and the completion of divine order. It is the sum of 4, representing the earthly realm, such as the 4 directions, and 6, the number of man, signifying imperfection, suggesting the interaction between humanity and divine authority. The repetition of 10 in Scripture is not coincidental, but a deliberate pattern woven into the biblical narrative. This number signifies moments when God's order is revealed or reinforced, highlighting His role as the ultimate authority in the lives of His people. The 10 Commandments, God's moral order. The most iconic instance of the number 10 is the 10 Commandments, Exodus 21-17. A cornerstone of biblical teaching. Delivered to Moses on Mount Sinai, these commandments establish the moral and spiritual foundation for God's covenant with Israel. Each commandment reflects a principle of divine order, emphasizing the relationship between God and humanity, the first 4, and between individuals, the last 6. The use of 10 underscores the completeness and sufficiency of these laws as a guide for righteous living. For millennia, the 10 Commandments have been a universal standard, influencing legal systems, ethical frameworks, and personal conduct around the globe. The 10 Plagues, divine justice. Another powerful example of the number 10 appears in the 10 Plagues of Egypt, Exodus 7:12. These plagues were not arbitrary punishments, but a demonstration of God's sovereignty over Pharaoh and the gods of Egypt. Each plague dismantled Egypt's idols and challenged Pharaoh's defiance, culminating in the death of the firstborn. The use of 10 symbolizes the totality of God's judgment and the completeness of His deliverance for the Israelites. Through these plagues, God revealed His power, justice, and unwavering commitment to liberate His people from oppression. Tithing, a test of faith. The practice of tithing, giving 1/10 of one's income or resources, is another significant reference to the number 10 in the Bible. This command, first mentioned in Genesis 14:20, when Abram gave a tithe to Melchizedek, later became part of the Mosaic Law, Leviticus 27:30. Tithing represents a test of faith and acknowledgement of God's provision. By offering 10% back to God, believers demonstrate trust in His ability to meet their needs while participating in His work on earth. The number 10 in this context symbolizes human responsibility in response to divine blessing, reinforcing the relationship between God and His people. The 10 Virgins, a call to readiness. In the New Testament, Jesus uses the number 10 in the parable of the 10 virgins, Matthew 25:1-13. This story depicts 10 bridesmaids awaiting the arrival of the bridegroom, symbolizing the return of Christ. 5 of the virgins are wise and prepare oil for their lamps, while the other 5 are foolish and fail to plan. When the bridegroom arrives unexpectedly, only the prepared are allowed to enter the wedding feast. This parable emphasizes the importance of spiritual readiness and vigilance. The use of 10 underscores the completeness of the group, representing all believers and the choices they face in preparing for Christ's return. Jacob's wages and God's protection. The number 10 also appears in the story of Jacob's service to his father-in-law, Laban. In Genesis 31:7, Jacob recounts that Laban changed his wages 10 times, attempting to cheat him. Despite Laban's deceit, God ensured Jacob's prosperity, blessing him with wealth and large flocks. Here, the number 10 reflects human fallibility, but also God's ability to protect and provide for His people, even in the face of injustice. The Bible often uses the number 10 to describe political and prophetic completeness. In Genesis 15:18-21, God promises Abraham's descendants the land of 10 nations, a symbol of the full inheritance He intends for His people. Similarly, in the apocalyptic visions of Daniel, Daniel 7, verse 7 to 8, and Revelation 13:1. The 10 horns represent kingdoms or rulers, signifying the totality of worldly power under God's ultimate control. These references highlight the sovereignty of God over history and his plan to bring all things under his authority. The recurring presence of the number 10 in the Bible carries profound lessons for believers today. Trust in God's provision. The practice of tithing reminds us to acknowledge God as the source of all blessings and to give back as an act of faith. Live with readiness. The parable of the 10 virgins challenges us to remain spiritually prepared for Christ's return, emphasizing the value of vigilance and obedience. Recognize divine authority. The 10 commandments and the 10 plagues underscore the completeness of God's moral order and his ability to enact justice. The number 10 is more than a numerical value in the Bible. It is a symbol of divine order, responsibility, and completeness. From the laws that guide our behavior to the judgments that reveal God's justice, 10 stands as a testament to his sovereignty and the harmony he desires in creation. By studying the significance of 10, we are reminded of God's authority, his faithfulness to his people, and our role in living according to his divine plan. The lessons of the number 10 are timeless, offering guidance and inspiration for those who seek to walk in his ways.